Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students of 9C, Assalamu alaikum. I am your teacher Muhammad Ilyas, and this is my fourth interaction with you regarding biology for Cambridge. Dear students, the today's topic is excretion, and this is from the chapter number 9 of your book, and according to CI syllabus, the topic number 9. Dear students, today's objectives means we will try to understand the following points. The first one is we will try to understand the process of excretion as the removal of toxic materials and the waste products of the metabolism from organisms, and the removal of the carbon dioxide from our bodies. Thirdly, we will focus on the different parts of the urinary system like kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra, and we will discuss the functions of each of these parts of the urinary system. And then we will focus on the dialysis in kidney machines as the diffusion of waste products and the salts through a membrane. Large molecules like proteins remain in the blood, and the small molecules will move out from the blood as a waste product. So we are going to focus on, first of all, dear students, I would love to discuss with you metabolism. Dear students, different chemical reactions taking place in our body, in the cells, and these are called metabolic reactions and metabolism. We can divide the metabolism into two parts, anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism consists of the reactions where simple substances are built up into larger one and make more complex molecules. Examples: photosynthesis, protein synthesis, and the synthesis of glycogen. And the second part of the metabolism is catabolism. Catabolism consists of the reactions where large complex molecules are broken down into the smaller one, like respiration and digestion. Both anabolic and catabolic reactions produces waste products, many of which would be toxic, poisonous if they were allowed to build up in the cells. These byproducts are removed by the process of excretion. And now we are going to focus on the excretion definition. As you can see from this slide, the removal from the body of the metabolic waste from the cells, tissues, fluid, and the blood. Metabolic waste molecules are the byproduct of the chemical reactions within the body. These waste products are toxic in some form and must not be allowed to accumulate in the tissues. The toxic nature might include changes in the pH, enzyme inhibition, and that's why these must be removed from the body, and their removal from the body is called excretion. Dear students, the first of all we are going to focus on the removal of the carbon dioxide from the lungs. Carbon dioxide and the water are the waste products produced as a result of aerobic respiration. The carbon dioxide diffuses out of the cells into the blood. In the blood plasma, it forms a carbonic acid which then breaks down or dissociates into hydrogen ions and hydrogen carbonate ions. Hydrogen carbonate ions are the main form in which carbon dioxide is carried in the blood. Production of hydrogen ions lower the pH of the blood, and if too much carbon dioxide build up, it causes the blood to become too acidic, and this condition is called respiratory acidosis. Excess carbon dioxide is toxic to the body and need to be removed, and in the capillaries surrounding the alveoli of the lungs, hydrogen carbonate ions in the plasma are converted back into the carbon dioxide, which then diffuses across the capillary wall, as you can see from this diagram, across the capillary wall of the alveolus, and the carbon dioxide diffuses into the airspace in the middle of the alveolus and expelled from the lungs during exhalation. So dear students, in this how carbon dioxide is removed from the lungs. Now we are going to just have a look on the composition of the urine. Urine is basically the waste products of the proteins. When the protein is decomposed in our body. Its amine group is removed and which is converted into ammonia, and then ammonia is converted into urea by our liver, and this urea is combined with the water and other salts, inorganic and organics, and make the urine. As you can see, 95 to 96% urine consists of water, 2% urea, and 2% other salts. Now we are moving towards the urinary system. The human urinary system consists of a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, the bladder, and the urethra, as you can see from this diagram. The kidneys are bean-shaped organs located at the back of the abdominal cavity, just above the waist and below the diaphragm. Each kidney receives oxygenated blood through renal artery. Inside a kidney, the blood is filtered to remove urea and other waste products along with the salts in the water, and the filtered blood passes out through a renal vein towards the vena cava. The solution of urea, salts and water is called urine, as I have discussed with you earlier. The urine passes out of the kidneys through two tubes called ureters and is stored in the elastic muscular bag called bladder. Leading from the bladder is a tube called urethra, which carries urine to the outside of the body. The walls of the urethra close to the bladder is in the walls of the urethra close to the bladder is a sphincter muscles. This ring-like muscles contract to close off the outlet from the bladder. The muscles contain sensory receptors which send nerve impulses to the brain when the bladder is full of urine, so that the sphincter muscles can be relaxed to allow the urine to be released from the bladder. This is the main organs of the urinary system of the human. Dear students, now we are moving towards the kidney machine dialyzer. When it is used, when the kidneys stop to work, and there are a number of reasons when the kidneys fails to work. A person can live perfectly happily with one kidney, but if both stop working, this may be fatal for the patient, so there is a need to use an other way to get rid of the toxic materials which are produced in the patient's body. The number one is the kidney transplants, and the other is to filter their blood through the artificial kidney machine, employing a process called renal dialysis. And this machine, you can see from this diagram, this is a dialyzer which is used to remove the waste from the body, like urea and excess of water. The kidney machine, a renal dialysis machine, is shown in the figure. Basically, it removes urea and other waste products along with the excess water and the salts, carrying out the two main functions of the living kidney: excretion and homeostasis. Dialyzer unit works on very simple and easily understandable principle. Most of the machine consists of the device to pump the blood, monitor the blood pressure, maintain the blood at a constant temperature, prevent blood clotting, and ensure that air and impurities such as bacteria cannot enter the patient's body. The machine is highly computerized and will trigger alarms if it detects any problem. The general construction of this dialysis machine is this as follows. You can see from this diagram. Before a patient is put onto the machine, a saline solution that has the same water potential as the blood is passed through the machine and all the tubes to prime the machine to receive the patient's blood. Arterial blood is taken from the patient's arm and pumped through the dialyzer. The filtered blood is returned to a vein. There are pressure monitors either side of the dialyzer to measure the blood pressure. If the pressure deviates from the optimum value, the machine automatically corrects this. The venous return to the patient's blood has an air detector and air trap to prevent bubbles of air entering the bloodstream. Blood may clot. It comes in contact with the internal surface of the tubes and dialyzer. To avoid this, an anti-clotting agent called heparin is added to the blood entering the dialyzer. A solution called dialysis fluid is also pumped through the dialyzer waste products. Water and salts are removed from the patient's blood and collected in the dialysis fluid. The filter in the dialyzer consists of a dialysis membrane. This is an artificial membrane that has millions of tiny holes in it. These holes are large enough to allow small molecules to pass through, but will not allow the passage of the larger molecules such as proteins or passage of other blood cells. In other words, we can say this is partially permeable membrane. Like the surface membranes of the cell. A number of different dialysis membranes are made. Some are artificially polymers, while others are made of chemically modified cellulose compost that makes up the plant cell walls. Blood from the patient flow along one side of the dialysis membrane, and dialysis fluid flows past the other side in the opposite direction, as you can see from this diagram. Unwanted solute pass through the membrane from the blood to the dialysis fluid, cleaning the blood. Dialysis fluid contains some concentration of glucose and salts as normal blood, but no urea. As the patient blood flows past the membrane, urea along with any excess salts in water diffuses through the holes in the membrane into the dialysis fluid, while cells and proteins retained in the blood. This is urea in the blood but not in the fresh dialysis fluid. So there is a steep concentration gradient for the diffusion of urea. However, there is no concentration gradient for the diffusion of glucose, which remains in the blood. The dialysis fluid is constantly replaced with the fresh solution. So after several hours, the patient blood is cleaned of waste and the correct water and salt balance achieved. A person on dialysis will have to undergo this process 2 to 3 times a day. So dear students, this is how you understand how the dialysis is carried out. Now I have selected some homework for you. This is from your chapter number 9, which is present on the page number 204. Question number 1 and 2, you have to do it on your notebooks and submit into your groups. Thank you very much for being with me. Stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.